Alright, hello my neighbors. Welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about probably one of the most missed potential horror games ever created. Make sure to look outside your windows, just to make sure no one is watching you. And make sure to keep an eye on your neighbor because you never know what they could be hiding. And of course, you should always love your neighbors because you don't want to get on their bad side. Okay, that's enough of this neighbor talk. Today I'm going to be talking about Hello Neighbor. Hello Neighbor is a stealth horror game. You, the player, have just moved into your new house, but you notice that there is something seriously wrong with your neighbor. So you decide to sneak into your neighbor's house and try to find out what he's hiding in his basement. But it's easier said than done, because he has a lot of traps, cameras, rooms, puzzles, key cards, and a bloodthirsty shark. How did he even manage to get that in his house? He's either trying to find you or is chasing you the entire time. All of this just to hide his dirty little secret. I mean, this dude will obviously do anything just to keep his secret hidden, so this dude could literally be anyone. A pedo, a KKK member, a Nazi. This dude clearly takes well care of his mustache, so maybe. There could be a time machine in there, all we know. Anyways, well, the neighbor's AI works in a very interesting way. The more the neighbor catches you, the more he learns. So for example, if you get caught, eating all of his food in his kitchen, the next time you spawn in, he'll check the kitchen to make sure that you're not in there again. And he'll keep doing that until you stop going in the kitchen in total. He also places bear traps and sets up cameras in places that you're often spotted in. If he's chasing you, sometimes he'll throw tomatoes or glue at you, whatever it takes. But he doesn't just spend his entire day trying to catch you. Sometimes he'll just decide to, watch TV, take a shit, exercise, or just simply go to sleep. And I also like how he has a pretty funny reaction when he sees you. He just acts so surprised, like this isn't the 100th time he's caught you, and it's just so funny to me. And that's pretty much it for the AI. I can't think of anything else to say. The gameplay of this game is, okay, how can I say this? It's very stupidly harsh, very aggressive physics, kind of like Gmod but worse. Like, it's so bad that it's pretty much guaranteed that you will close out of the game and start it back up at least once. There have also been many betas and alphas. I will never hear those two words the same ever again. Also, the game was in Russian for a bit. Pre-alpha came out September 29th, 2016. Not much you could really do in that game. Alpha 1 came out October 26th of 2016. And Alpha 2 came out November 22nd, 2016. And also, fun fact, in Alpha 2, that was the first time you were able to actually see your own player model. And I remember everyone thinking he was ugly. Alpha 3 came out December 22nd, 2016. And it's just so crazy to me how all of these updates came out the same year. Like, times just moved so much slower back then. Like, I could have sworn those updates were like years and years apart from each other. But, Alpha 4 came out May 4th, 2017. And here we are to the first beta. Beta 1 came out July 25th, 2017. Beta 2 came out 2 days later, July 27th, 2017. And Beta 3 came out August 14th, 2017. And there was a prototype that was announced on June 8th, 2015. And that's pretty much all I can think of to talk about, the basics of the game. So, yeah. The neighbor's house has actually changed a lot throughout all the updates. It started off as a pretty weird looking house from the outside to whatever you can call this? I'm sorry, is that a fucking train? I just don't understand how people can just drive past this and think it's normal. I think after each time the game got updated, the house actually got bigger and bigger since the pre-alpha, which most of the rooms were blocked off, including the entirety of the upstairs, to ending up in Act 3 having 25 rooms in total, which is just crazy for a house. Some rooms being completely normal to just being extremely weird. Like, this dude has a whole elevator in his house. Maybe because if he had stairs, he'd probably die from exhaustion trying to climb up them. So, obviously there have been many rooms in the Hello Neighbor house. Some of them were actually cut from the final game, which is honestly crazy to me, because some of these rooms that were cut, I think should have stayed in personally. For example, like the classroom. Yeah, does anyone remember the classroom that led into the shooting range? And the room with the grave in it? I don't know why these rooms were cut from the final game. I feel like they suit the weirdness and horror of this game perfectly. And the room that was cut that I think should have stayed in the game the most was the room with the shark. This was probably my favorite and the best room in the entire game in my opinion. And the shark was pretty creepy, especially with how harsh the movements of this game are. It just made the shark even creepier and scarier. Like, I remember when this game was still new, I feared that shark. If I had to guess on why they decided to get rid of the shark, probably because it would have made the game more buggy, and I guess they just decided to give up and just scrap it, which sucks. Something else about these rooms that made them very unsettling to be in was the fact that some of them had mannequins in them, dressed up as people. And some of the mannequins you actually needed to make them act out something to complete a puzzle. The neighbor has got to be the most antisocial guy to ever live. Anyways, in Act 1 the house has a huge fence around it, and in the final act the house is actually on top of the neighbor's back. Alpha 2 is when they got rid of the garage, and Alpha 3 is when the house started to look really crazy. And also, fun fact, the neighbor actually has a jail cell in his house. I guess he just loves not being able to explore his house. And of course, we can't forget about the fear rooms. The fear rooms give you some type of obstacle to complete, and once you do, you get a superpower. One of the fear rooms, you have to make it to the top of a giant closet, and that'll give you the power of double jumping. Another fear room, you basically just go shopping, and that gives you the ability to turn it, and that gives you the superpower to turn invisible. And in the third fear room, you have to make it past a huge classroom, and after you do that, that'll give you the ability to use your hands. I think a fear room with the shark would have been really fun, but yeah, we got shopping. Woohoo. Because everyone wanted to go shopping in Hello Neighbor. I think the powers aren't too bad. The double jumping is very useful in a game like this. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I only remember ever using the double jump. Could you imagine living in this house and losing something? Like, ah shit, I lost my wallet. Well, looks like I'm screwed. Like, yeah, you're not finding that shit. Also, imagine if in the end of the game, instead of having to do a boss fight with the neighbor, you had to fight the house itself. So, kind of like that Monster House movie, you know, with the weird old guy that has a stroke. Alright, I think I said pretty much everything I needed to say about the house. Wait, no, there's something else. You can also hide in the closets and under the bed in case a neighbor is about to find you. And you can also look through the keyholes and see what's in the other rooms. And yeah, that's pretty much all I can think to say about his house. Now let's talk about the player's house. So, pretty boring. Can't do anything here. In the pre-alpha, it was just a bedroom and that was it. And yeah, this house is complete ass compared to the neighbor's house. Yeah, that's pretty much it for houses, I guess. How could we talk about this game for so long and not mention the basement? The basement, or the basement door for the most part, has changed many times. starting with the pre-alpha, where you spawn in your house and you notice a bright light coming from your neighbor's basement door, which is also under the staircase. So curious, you decide to let yourself in and see what's inside. But before you can see anything, the neighbor catches you. Right, now cut hours later, after many attempts, you finally find the code, which was behind a painting. You unlock the door, and there is literally nothing inside. So basically, you went through all this trouble for no reason. Alpha 1, the door is boarded up with 2 wooden planks and a lock. And after working so hard to unlock the door, you finally get to see what's been inside your neighbor's basement all this time. Or not. Instead, you end up getting buried alive. So pretty much what I've learned so far is that whatever is in this basement is so bad that you end up getting buried alive. Maybe that's where he keeps all his Twitch whispers. Alpha 2, the neighbor just says fuck it and gets a Sandy Cheeks tree dome type door. And now I'm starting to think that he's just straight up keeping a miner in there. Okay, what the hell is in there? So even though he has this Sandy Cheeks tree dome type door, apparently that's not enough. So for good measures, he puts one single wooden plank on it. After unlocking the door, you... Alright, you know what, never mind, alright? It's not like they're gonna show us in the basement. Oh shit. Yep. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. We finally get to see what the neighbor has been hiding in his basement, and I spoke too soon. Candles and blankets. That's all we know at this point. Alpha 3, they decide to go back to 2 boards and a key card slot. The basement is right in front of the door this time. And when you go inside the basement, light fills your screen and it cuts to the neighbor crying. Alpha 4, 2 boards and a key card slot again. You go inside the basement and that'll lead you to, what the fuck even is this? Okay, so it leads you to a dark void with white glowing eyes watching you. So you keep going, and again it cuts to a bright screen, and now you're back in your apartment, about to move into your new house. So great. So instead of finding out what's in the basement, we are now literally backtracking. We haven't even moved in the house yet. What is going on anymore? All we know is that there are candles and blankets in a staircase in a black void. Sorry. The stress and anticipation is starting to get to me. I'm just very excited to know what's inside this basement. The basement door is actually unlocked this time. They decided to give us a break and just straight up unlock the door. But something weird happens. Something from inside the basement opens the door. But then it cuts to black. For some reason it spawns you back at your house, and so you decide to go back to the house and see what's inside the basement. This time the basement is boarded up with a chair, so that's new. You hear something trying to get out. You open the door, but then you get caught and the neighbor boards it back up and you can't go in the basement again. Pretty sure it's the same for Beta 2. Yeah, I don't know why they did this. Anyways, so Beta 3, same thing. Door opens, gets boarded up again. But this time, we actually get to go inside the basement. Go inside, dark void. And after you get past all that, we finally reach the end. All of this led up to a Hello Neighbor Elden Ring fight. And after you defeat the neighbor, we finally get to find out what's been hiding inside this basement for all this time. Here it is. A couple of boxes, and that's it. Throughout this entire Hello Neighbor basement journey, I've learned something. It's not the destination, but the journey and the friends we made along the way. No, we didn't make any friends or anything remotely close to that during this entire journey. If you even want to call it that, we literally just walked across the street. This whole time, there was nothing in this basement besides boxes. The basement was the entire reason people loved this game so much, because we all wanted to know what he was hiding in his basement, just for it to be nothing. Kinda kicking the balls. I remember first seeing the basement walk out. I remember first seeing the neighbor walk away from his basement as a fucking tire bounces by, and he just walks away so casually. Like, I always thought the neighbor had like some sort of portal to another dimension. And I thought the reason he wore those black rubber gloves was because that's what he was building. Like, this dude had the Sandy Cheeks door from SpongeBob. He had this entire... how much did this even cost him? He had key cards to get in his own basement. And it turned out that he just had a couple of boxes. Anyways, that's what I thought was in there. Let me know what you thought was in there. Because I mean, boxes, like, they could have added a time machine in there or something. Literally anything. Hello Neighbor is a very secretive game. There are many strange secrets in this game that we'll talk about later. For now, we'll talk about every single secret cutscene that I could find. When it comes to Hello Neighbor, it's kind of weird because of all the alphas and betas. So some of the secret cutscenes didn't actually make it in the full final game. In the pre-alpha, there was a chance that if you got caught, you'd spawn back in your house. But before you could leave, a giant neighbor would appear and look at you through your window and try to grab you through your door. He would eventually just snatch you. This cutscene is by far my favorite secret cutscene in the game. It's just very creepy, and the sound that goes on while it's happening just strengthens the creepiness of it. In Act 2, if you got caught, instead of spawning back in your own house, you'd spawn in this weird, dark, abandoned amusement park. If you go on the ride, you'd go through this weird roller coaster of different rooms and different emotions. So like laughing, crying, TV, until you reach the end of the ride. You see a cardboard cutout of a little girl, and you'd push her to her cardboard death. This secret cutscene is definitely very weird and very creepy, and it suits the game pretty well. Just completely unexpected and weird. Now this one is by far the weirdest of them all. If you throw a golden apple in a broken record player, it would suck you inside the record player and spawn you in this weird cutscene where you're in a weird room. You look behind you outside a window at whatever this is, and then you see the neighbor's hands cover your face. At first I thought this was the neighbor grabbing you from the back. Pause. But now that I'm rewatching it, I kind of feel like that in this scene you are the neighbor, and this is like the neighbor crying. So by now you're probably asking yourself, what is even going on anymore? Or what is this dude even on? But I'm asking, how the fuck did anyone find this? Who thought, oh cool, a golden apple, let's throw it inside a broken record player and see what happens? Like, there must have been some sort of sign telling you to do that or something that I'm missing. Why a record player? Why anything anymore? Is there even a neighbor? What is this game even about? I thought it was about going inside this dude's basement. But no, the basement is now the least of our worries now. Anyways, sorry about that. If you do absolutely nothing for 10 minutes, a green square will pop up, and if you go inside of it, you could like go in a weird world or something. And I know I said that there was some secret cutscenes that didn't make it in, but I think there was only one that didn't, which was the giant neighbor one. I mean, technically it made it in the final act, but it's not the same. And yeah, that's it for that, I guess. So this game has a lot of secrets in general. Many of the secrets were answered while some of them weren't. I've gathered a few mysterious things from this game that are very questionable. First things first is this woman's grave. And the way you find this grave is, okay. Okay, so bear with me with this one. You crouch through this fake wall, and that should put you under this escalator. There, you should see this warning sign that says something about a missing script. If you touch it, it'll spawn you in a graveyard, and there you'll be able to find the woman's grave. You can also go out and explore the world of Hello Neighbor. There's a school, a police station with a missing person poster of a boy and a girl. There's a lake with a pizza truck with an L in the middle of it, so I guess the pizza must have been really shit because someone decided to drive it into a lake. There's also a satellite dish, 4 boats, and a record player with a cool little JT Music reference on it, and the return of the shark. Well, or a robot shark, but close enough. There's also a factory, and there's a ramp for drivers to drive to their doom. Now, what sick monster decided to add this in the game, huh? That's alright though, because there's also a hospital that of course you cannot go inside of. And you also can't go inside any of the other buildings, so that sucks. And there's this statue that looks like Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimmsville Dimmadome. And that's it for the world of Hello Neighbor. Thank you for listening. But don't leave yet, because there are also other secrets, like the shark that was in his house at one point, that might have actually been a robot, which makes a lot more sense on how he got it in his house. You know, at least we solved that mystery. Not the water though. Not sure how he managed to fill his entire upstairs with water. But we'll figure that out one day. Maybe. Probably not. But anyways, though, there's a mystery in this game that, I've been itching at for like 5 minutes. But there's a problem. I don't think this secret is in Hello Neighbor. I think it's in Hello Neighbor 2. This weird raven creature thing. I'm not sure why this exists, but it's evil and it'll kill you. And it's also a little shit, because if you remember at the beginning of the game, a little raven steals your key, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was him. Little fucking asshole. He got what was coming to him, literally. And lastly, probably the weirdest mystery of this game is this painting of the neighbor and some random guy that, from what I know, has never been mentioned since this painting. Now, if you're familiar with the Bible, then you should know that this is a reference to the kiss of betrayal, when Judas kissed Jesus on the cheek to signal to the guards to capture him. Now, why would the neighbor have something like this in his house? We do not know. But they never brought it up again, so I guess we'll never know either. And yeah, that's as far as I'll go with secrets and mysteries and stuff. This is a very buggy game, and I'm sure there are many glitches and stuff, but I'm just going to be talking about the ones that I remember. If you've played in the pre-alpha, then you should be familiar with the glitch where you can get the neighbor stuck. The latest version of Hello Neighbor, the neighbor cannot cross the street or go nowhere near your house, and there's a good reason for that, because back then the neighbor didn't have a limit of where he could go, so wherever you could go, he could. And that also included your house.
What? Hey! Oh, fuck!
So, if you manage to get the neighbor to go inside of your house, you could do this by leading him through the window, and you can get the neighbor stuck there. I mean, have you seen this guy's house? I don't blame him for just, taking your house. I mean, it must be so stressful living in a house that big all by himself. So, yeah, you can get him stuck there for however long you want. Since the neighbor is now in your house, there isn't anyone to stop you, so you can just do whatever you want. There's a bug where the neighbor was chasing you and you hid in the closet. Sometimes the neighbor would just stay there and not move. He'd just do that stupid I can't believe I just made that noise. But yeah, he just make that stupid noise and just look left and right like he doesn't know where you are. The neighbor will also sometimes just like run into a wall, or run into like the smallest object, and then once that happens, everything would just start freaking out, including him. So, in the words of Rick James, cocaine is a hell of a drug. Don't do drugs, kids. Except heroin, if you want to feel amazing, I guess. But that's besides the point. And if you play Hello Neighbor, you know how frustrating the train is. And I think, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think that if you turn the train on, sometimes it just wouldn't move. Or maybe I just didn't have the power on. I don't know. Guys, Chris Tyson from Mr. Beast has just got exposed for being a pedo. And I just can't stop thinking about it. How many people are into children? Like, oh my. And why is it always famous people? Like, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Moist Critical was next. And I'm not saying him because I think he's a pedo. I'm just saying him because he's like the last YouTuber I would expect. Unlike IShowSpeed, Kai Cenat, KSI, Logan Paul, Mr. Beast himself, Jacksepticeye, Storm Pokimane, maybe even SS Sniperwolf. Actually, no, she's already gotten caught, didn't she? You know, how about Jaden Animation? You know, I mean, she did win that Mr. Beast challenge, so maybe that's a sign. And once again, I have gotten completely sidetracked. You know, for a second there, I forgot this was a Hello Neighbor video. I apologize. So that's pretty much it for bugs and glitches that I can remember. So let's move on. If I'm being honest, I didn't even know there was a Hello Neighbor 2 before making this video. All I remember was that there was a Secret Neighbor game. So in case you also didn't know there was a Hello Neighbor 2, we're going to be learning about these games together. And I will be giving a quick summary of each game because I only wanted to talk about the original Hello Neighbor, but these games are a part of the series and I kind of have to include them. So yeah, let's begin. So we're going to start off with Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek, which is a prequel to the first game, and this game came out December 6, 2018. In this game, you actually play as the neighbor's daughter, so I guess it shouldn't be called Hello Neighbor since the neighbor isn't actually your neighbor, but your dad, so I guess you can call it Hello Dad. Nope, I'm not finishing that sentence, okay? So anyways, you play as a daughter and you and your brother play hide and seek. Everything appears bigger when you're playing and you have to find and put all of your toys in a basket before your brother finds you and catches you. Man, I miss playing hide and seek with my friends. Or even hide and seek tag. It was basically just hide and seek, but after you found one of the hiders, you had to tag them afterwards. Man, that was so much fun. Too bad those days are over now. After the game, it's now dinner time. So you eat with your family, and after that, you play cops and robbers. I remember when I was a kid, me and my friends, we used to play cops and robbers with our bikes, you know, because we had bikes and we wanted to ride them and play games, so we just combined them. You know, that was also really fun. Anyways, you know, this isn't about my childhood. This time, instead of stealing toys and having to put them in the basket, you'll have to steal money. And after you play that, you and your brother get ready for dinner. But something weird happens this time. Your mom doesn't come in the room to tell you that dinner is ready, and so you and your brother wait, but she never shows up. And it turns out that both parents are nowhere to be found. Did this dude really just leave his only 2 kids in his house alone? That's how I know that they're both accidents. So as a way of coping with the fact that their parents are nowhere, they decide to play another game. And I'm not gonna lie, if I was in this situation, I would have probably did something stupid like go outside and start crying and just waiting for them to come back. And then I probably would have just somehow ended up locking myself out of my house. And then I would have gotten distracted by a van giving away free candy. So anyways, I play another game, and after that game, the dad finally comes home, and it turns out that the mom was in a car accident. So she dies, and the family now has to live with each other. The brother is not taking this very well, so he just decides to abuse his sister. It's dinner time, you all eat, and your brother steals your doll. And after you finish eating, you go after your brother to get your doll back, which ends up with both children on the roof. Okay, hold the fuck up. How does this even happen? Where is the dad? Drinking? So the brother pushes you off the roof, and that's how the game ends. The second game is called Secret Neighbor, which came out October 23rd, 2018. So in this game, you play as a bunch of kids, and you are all locked inside the neighbor's house, and so you have to find keys to escape. But there's a tiny problem. One of these kids is actually a 50-year-old man. Okay, so I know I've been bringing up, like pedos and groomers a lot, but come on, this just sounds wrong. A grown man pretending to be a kid to catch other kids. What is this guy's problem with catching kids? This game's pretty much like one of those videos that are like 5 kids, guess which one is a groomer or a child. I can't tell which one sounds worse. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Secret Neighbor. And finally, the sequel to the first Hello Neighbor game. In this game, you play as a journalist or a reporter or whatever this guy is. Your job is to report on the 2 missing children incident. You actually succeed. You find one of the children, but it's the neighbor's kid. But it's just one of them because, the brother killed the sister. So yeah, the neighbor locks the brother in the basement to keep it a secret so that no one finds out what he did. And so your job is to break in this guy's house to save the kid. Again, he's not your neighbor. He's just a psychopath. So while you're trying to break in the neighbor's house, a lot of things try to stop you, like this weird bird creature that I talked about earlier. Yeah, he tries to kill you. And also the police who think you're crazy. And of course, the neighbor himself. And after many failed attempts, you finally find the kid. And right as you're about to leave, a huge bird statue thing falls on top of the neighbor. The kid tries to save his dad, and while that's happening, you just stand there like an idiot, and you end up getting knocked out by this mystery person that we don't know who it is because the third game didn't come out. Yeah, that's it for Hello Neighbor games. Hello Neighbor's soundtrack is pretty good. A nice guitar to represent moving on from a horrible past to a peaceful restart. And then it goes from that to an intense beat to remind you that one day your past will eventually catch up with you. So there have been actually 2 different chase music, when the neighbor's chasing you. One was very loud and chaotic, which was in the original Hello Neighbor, like the pre-alpha. And the one now is more of a quiet but intense beat. Personally, I felt the first one kind of made the game feel more scarier because it's like a jump scare, it just catches you off guard. But I don't think the other one's bad either. But what do you think? You think they should have kept the first one, or is the second one better? Please comment on the video, I'm desperate. Anyways, now that we got all of that out of the way, that's actually not the music I wanted to talk about for Hello Neighbor. We all know the one I wanted to talk about, the Hey
there, neighbor.
Hello Neighbor,
Can I come
this is really
inside?
cringe. If you didn't listen to Hello Neighbor songs as a kid, then what were you listening to? Fucking Beethoven? JT Music is all the music I needed as a kid. Like I said earlier, they did reference them in a music disc. Very cool. And yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say for music. As a young Nicky was playing with his ball, he hears something strange coming from his neighbor's basement. So being curious, he goes to the house to investigate, but ends up getting caught. Instead of bringing young Nicky's to his parents' house like any normal person would do, and scold them for letting their kid play in the street, he decides to take matters into his own hands by locking him in his own basement. And to ensure that he doesn't escape, he builds a massive fence around his house. And after many attempts, Nicky finally escapes. And as he's going back to his house, he looks behind him one last time to see this face that will traumatize Nicky for the rest of his childhood. Many years later, Nicky is now a grown man and is struggling in his apartment, living off of welfare checks and ramen noodles, chicken flavor, because I don't like all the other ones. Nicky gets a letter in his mail, an eviction note. With no other choice, he moves back into his old childhood home. He looks across the street to see the house of the man who traumatized him. And after getting PTSD, Nicky takes a nap, to get his mind off things, but ends up waking up with the neighbor's house tripled in size. And instead of running away, he decides to fight his fears and goes back into the house to find out what was in his basement all of those years ago. After facing all his fears and getting over his fear of the neighbor, now all he has to do is face off the neighbor. For real this time. He goes in the basement and protects himself from the monster that's been terrorizing his life. And as he does this, he gets bigger and bigger. In the end, Nicky locks the neighbor in his house with his own demon, or monster. And just like that, Nicky has finally gotten over his fear and trauma and is finally able to move on. Mr. Peterson gets in a car crash with his wife. I guess she must have been driving. He makes it, but she doesn't. So he goes home to tell his kids what has happened. They both don't take it well, especially his son, who takes all his anger out on his poor sister. His son takes his daughter's doll and leads her up to the roof. There, he pushes her off and kills her. And with Mr. Peterson's son being the only family he has left in this world, it drives him insane. And so as a way of keeping his family safe, he locks his son in his basement to protect him. And as a way of hiding the fact that his son is a murderer, he tells the police that both of his children went missing, and he gets away with it. Until one day, a kid finds out his secret. He decides to also kidnap him in his basement, but that kid ends up escaping. And Mr. Peterson, with no other choice, moves away for kidnapping a kid and ends up moving it into a new house and locks away his son there. The end. So, I don't think the story of Hello Neighbor is that bad. I just don't think it was that necessary for this game to have a story. I mean, the story is kind of a lot for a game that's just about sneaking into your neighbor's basement. And I feel like they should have just kept it as that, where, creepy horror game about, finding out what your neighbor is hiding. Rather, I like that better than, kid with trauma who grows up and then a guy who likes kidnapping children. But yeah, this is just my opinion. If you like this game better the way it is, then that's fine. Or you think this game is a horror masterpiece, that's cool too. But anyways, yeah, that's it for me talking about Hello Neighbor. I hope you enjoyed the video, and make sure to like and subscribe even if you didn't. And make sure to comment and let me know how I can improve my videos, because each video I want to make my videos better and better. So yeah, tell me how I can improve. And yeah, peace.